Hello YouTube. Today is April 3rd, 2015. Today's topic is living with the Nexus Player. I've owned it since November 2014 and these are my thoughts on it. Today I'll be answering the questions: what's the purpose of the Nexus Player? What features did I want when I bought it? What can it do? What can't it do? What are the alternatives? And is it worth the price?
Welcome to the channel. This is Technoscope.
Welcome to Technoscope. My name is Elemento. What is the Nexus Player? That's always the number one question. The Nexus Player basically takes all your media content, gaming, and entertainment from your cell phone and tablet to your TV and home theater, basically giving you a bigger screen and better sound. It also allows for you to purchase movies or rent movies on the Play Store, or TV shows or albums or whatever you may consume, and move that to your home theater. The Nexus Player, to give you an idea of what it is, basically competes directly with the Roku, Amazon's Fire TV, and Apple's Apple TV. Basically, it's a media device, but it's based on Android, just like the Fire TV is. It does have Google's Play Store built in, so you can download apps, although it is a bit limited, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But basically, it's like an Android device for your TV, giving your home theater the flexibility you've enjoyed on your phone for years. Also, as a Nexus device, as an Android device, if you are good with the computer, you're good with programming, you can pretty much write an app to do nearly anything you want with the Nexus Player. If you wanted to, if you're good enough, you could write a program for home automation and control everything from your remote control from your couch. I cannot write apps, or otherwise I would have already done it myself. So what was I looking for when I bought the Nexus Player? Well, really what I was looking for was a return to the days of the original Xbox, the Xbox that came out in 2001, not the Xbox 360. There was a whole huge modding community behind the original Xbox, and I wanted to return to those days, the days of Xbox Media Center, the days of games that were loaded onto the system. There was no disc. The days when, yeah, I know there was disc, but if you knew how to do it right, you could put your games on the console. The days when Xbox Media Center was there to stream your media, your videos, your movies, your TV shows, your music, everything from your computer to your TV, liberating you from the desktop seat, basically. And I also wanted emulators that would let you play your old school games. And the Nexus Player has a huge advantage over the original Xbox because it has wireless controllers, and it also supports high definition 1080p. So what can it do? How does it benefit the average consumer? Well, out of the box, the Nexus Player gives you the Google ecosystem on your TV. It brings to the TV and your home theater, if you have excellent surround sound, you'll love it. It brings Play Music and Play Music All Access, if you have All Access, to your TV screen and to your home theater. Now, I have experienced some bugs with that app, but it is by far a lot better than other options of getting your music onto your home theater system. It also lets you access content from Play Movies and Television. If you rent any movies, if you rent any TV shows, if you bought any content on there, all of that shows up in Play Movies and Television. Now, recently I discovered that you can also connect some media apps together. I believe Disney Watch Anywhere is one of those apps you can connect to it, and any of the movies that are on there should show up in your Play Movies and Television library as well. and that allows you to watch those things on your TV versus watching on your cell phone or tablet. It also brings YouTube. Now this is a big one. This is huge. I did not really get into watching YouTube videos until I bought the Chromecast last year, which eventually led to me buying the Nexus Player. YouTube on your TV is a whole different experience. There are lots of videos, lots of podcasts, lots of things on YouTube that are well over half an hour, sometimes even over an hour long. And those are things I just would not watch on my cell phone. I didn't want my battery dying. I didn't want to sit there and hold my phone all that time. Or even when I had my Nexus 7 before I gave it to my daughter, I wasn't going to sit there and hold the tablet that long. So when this came along, when Chromecast came along, and eventually I upgraded to the Nexus Player, watching YouTube made all the difference in the world. I started subscribing to a lot more people. It does have limitations because for some reason the YouTube on the Nexus Player does not let you like anything. It doesn't let you subscribe to anyone, and it makes it incredibly difficult if you're watching a series of videos because they do not show up as the next video to watch, and usually the next video that it plays has nothing to do with the video that you just watched. I don't know what Google was thinking on that, but hopefully that's one of those things they fix. The Nexus Player also has cast support like the Chromecast. It's not quite as versatile, but it does have most of the support. Almost any app that will work with the Chromecast will work with the Nexus Player. In my opinion, sometimes it's just better to stream to the Chromecast, and I still have those because they were only $35 a piece. It does not support backdrop, which I'm kind of disappointed with because the backdrop is still my screensaver, but on the Nexus Player it only shows those default photos that happen before you set up your backdrop, your customized backdrop on Chromecast. It doesn't support custom anything, so it only shows you those default ones, even if you go in and set up ones for your Chromecast. It does have video app support. Netflix and Hulu automatically download when you first boot up the device. There's Crackle, Dailymotion, and there are several others, but it is missing some, and I'll get into those in a moment. It runs Android apps. Most of the flexibility and glory of Android on your TV, on your home theater. Basically, if you can get somebody to develop an app for it, if you can write an app for it, you can play it on your TV, and it also supports side loading. It lets you side load apps. There are some that you can get, like ES File Explorer. That's a big one if you're into side loading. You can actually get that from the Play Store. You can't do it from the Nexus Player, but you can go on your computer and you can say install to Nexus Player, and it will actually download and install it. And the Nexus Player is mouse and keyboard friendly, so if you have a Bluetooth mouse and keyboard, I suggest you use that with it. ES File Explorer, though it works just fine, is not meant for the Nexus Player, and it is a little bit hard to navigate. But it allows you to install non-platform apps. It allows you to install Android apps from your storage, just like you would on your cell phone or tablet. And it also allows you to play games. That's a huge one. There's a $40 controller that you can buy for the Nexus Player and play games on it. I'll get into that in a bit. And one of the other things that a lesser crowd even knows about, even smaller crowd than the people who know about the Nexus Player, there is a device called the HD Homerun Prime and the HD Homerun. They allow you to connect a device to your cable TV and then connect this device to your network, and anything that connects to that network can show live TV. This is one of the things that I saw at Google I/O last year, or online, and they demonstrated it. I knew I had to have it then because I've had an HD Homerun Prime for a couple years now. If you search for search for the device, search for Windows Media Center, you'll find one of my old videos on my personal channel that I put up demonstrating how well it functions. But to be able to stream directly from that box to an Android device that's hooked to my TV and home theater system is exactly what I want. It's a little bit buggy right now, but they're working on that, and eventually it'll be where I need it to be. So what can't it do? No optical audio, no Ethernet connection. What were they thinking? I'm not even sure I could do a whole video on how much headache those two missing ports have caused me on this device, especially the optical audio. Now, I understand that most receivers these days support getting the HDMI audio off the HDMI port, but my receiver is old. I bought it just after I bought the Xbox 360 back in 2006. It is old. It does not support HDMI audio, and therefore the only way to get audio from the Nexus Player to my receiver is to connect to the TV, send the signal to the TV, and then send the signal from the TV's optical audio out back to the receiver. Oh my goodness, that is so much trouble. Not only does the receiver not have HDMI audio support, but I also only have, it does have HDMI, but not the support for audio. There's only like 2 ports on there, so I had to go out and spend the money to buy an HDMI switch so that I could get my devices to connect, and I had to do this funky thing so that I could get the Nexus Player to connect to the TV so that the audio can go from the TV back to the receiver. It's a big pain in the butt. I've strongly considered selling the Nexus Player or getting rid of the one that's in the living room at the very least, and swapping it out with the Amazon Fire TV, because the Fire TV for the same price has optical audio and has Ethernet. So I'm not sure why Google decided they didn't need it. As I recall, the pictures they had at I/O had the ports, but the final product didn't. But anyway, that's just one thing you have to deal with. If you don't have a brand new receiver and you expect to use surround sound, you're gonna have trouble, just like I did. Also, it's missing some of the more important, what I think are more important Android video apps. There's no Disney Movies Anywhere, the app that lets you watch the Disney movies on your devices using the codes that come with Blu-rays, or buying the codes directly from Disney. Now, I did say earlier that the app does connect to the Play Store, which will allow you to watch those movies and play movies and television, so I'll let that one slide. But it also does not have HBO Go, it does not have Vine, and does not have Vudu, which is Walmart's version of Movies Anywhere. But the big one for me is Twitch. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and I recently got into watching Twitch videos because a lot of the guys that do YouTube videos stream live on Twitch. And when I started getting into this, I noticed that my Xbox One had Twitch support, and then, you know, it's on my computer, it's on my cell phone, but the only device that really needs it that doesn't have it is the Nexus Player. There is no Twitch app for it. Now, you can sideload the cell phone Twitch app. I haven't tried it yet, but like I said before, if they're not made for it, it can be a pain in the butt. And I believe I read somewhere that navigation was really difficult in Twitch. Another thing is apps that are installed on the Nexus Player must be platform-specific apps, or they do not show on the home screen. That goes for anything, basically. I installed ES File Explorer because it's almost necessary if you want to sideload anything, or if you want to transfer files over your network to your Nexus Player. the ES File Explorer does not show up on the home screen. You have to install another app called Sideload Launcher. And once you go into Sideload Launcher, it allows you to see those apps that are not platform specific. They will show up in there, as well as some of the platform specific apps. Storage on this device is miserable. They only give you 8 gigabytes of storage, and that storage is basically enough to install the apps. I tried messing around with a OTG adapter and a flash drive, but it did not want to work with it. And the little functionality I had was using ES File Explorer, but the Nexus Player is not designed to work with expanded storage at all. It's very unfortunate, but the 8 gigabytes, out of which I believe 5 is usable, is just not enough. When I first used the device, I actually ran out of space just installing apps and games. I installed maybe 6 or 7 games, and I installed a bunch of different video platform apps and ran out of room. And the way I found out was I went to the Play Store and there was all these updates waiting. So when I tried to run the update, it tells me it cannot run the update because it's out of storage space. So 8 gigabytes is just not enough. I don't know what they were thinking on that, and there's no way to expand it, so what are you gonna do? There are a bunch of random crashes. Sometimes you'll be playing a game and suddenly the game just exits for no reason. But the bigger annoyance, even bigger than the game just crashing, is the controller problems. There are times when the controller all of a sudden starts inputting a button over and over and over again, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. And it's because the controller is disconnected, and you don't know this because the light's still on the controller, and you're trying to press buttons, but the commands are not getting through. And what you come to find out is that the controller itself actually freezes. You can't turn it off, you can't do anything to the controller, it just actually freezes. When it does work, there's a ton of lag. The emulators that I installed were nearly useless. The Android specific apps still have a lot of controller lag problems. The worst I've seen is probably up to like half a second. You press a button and half a second later something happens. It's almost to the point where it's unusable. I completely stopped playing games on there. It's just not a fun experience because of all these problems. So what are the alternatives to the Nexus Player? Roku TV is an alternative. Apple TV is an alternative, and to a lesser extent, Chromecast is even an alternative if you don't mind using your cell phone or tablet to control it. Fire TV is definitely an alternative. You do lose access to play music, all access, play movies and TVs, but they give you their services. You also get the optical port. You also get an Ethernet port, which would solve 2 major issues I've had with the Nexus Player. But the big one is NVIDIA's Shield console. They announced this just as I was researching the Fire TV and getting ready to buy it. The Shield console is a device that is more powerful than the Xbox 360. A 256 core Maxwell GPU, 3 gigabytes of RAM, which I believe is more than the PS4 and Xbox One, 16 gigabytes of internal storage with a micro SD slot, and SanDisk just released a 200 gigabyte micro SD. So think about that. And it has 4K output. You can watch 4K videos with this thing. So is it worth the money? With the price reduction of the Apple TV just recently, the identical price of the more capable Fire TV, and the mere $60 difference between the Nexus Player with controller versus the much more powerful NVIDIA Shield, I would only buy the Nexus Player if you must have a Nexus Player. There's no way I can really justify it for anyone. If you were going to buy the Nexus Player with controller, you might as well spend the $60 and get the far more powerful NVIDIA Shield. If you weren't going to get the controller, yes, it's double the price because it's $100 versus $200. But then again, you're talking about a far more powerful machine. If you were just going to get the box by itself, I would still get the Fire TV over the Nexus Player. And I own 2 Nexus Players. I bought 2 of them thinking they were going to be the thing to get, the thing to have. I was going to build my whole system, my whole setup around this. But it just hasn't panned out, and there are a lot of shortcomings of the device. Maybe the Nexus Player 2 will be better, I'm not sure, but by that time I will definitely have the NVIDIA Shield console. So I cannot recommend the device, but it does what it's supposed to do. If you absolutely have to have the Google ecosystem, so you're buying it for all access versus using a Chromecast for all access. You have to have the Nexus Player. You just have to have it. But if you don't have to have it, Fire TV or the NVIDIA Shield are my recommendations. And of course, if you're an iOS fan, then you probably want to go with Apple TV.
Technoscope is a Twisted Curve production.